What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about an EA backfire. If you guys had seen their tweet yesterday, it was around last night that they put out a tweet trying to popularize, or I guess I would say maybe capture this popular trend, right, that's going around on Twitter. They wanted to jump on the bandwagon, and it blew up in their face really, really badly. Now, I don't think this was the most maliciously evil thing in the world. I don't think this person was trying to, like, rub in the wounds in the old EA studios, say, that were, terminated because they were making single-player. I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more once we read it, but I don't really think this is, like, supposed to kill people, is like the worst thing humanly possible, but it did backfire, and it led to some almost like behind the scenes stories that doesn't make EA look all that great, right? They ultimately apologized from it. I think this was just some sort of low level employee, we're not talking about executives here, that was having a bit of fun, that saw a popular trend on Twitter, because that's what this is, and wanted to give it their go. Now, was it a bad tweet? Of course, but I don't think it was meant to be the worst thing ever. It was a bad tweet, but I don't think it was meant to be the worst thing ever. So it's very short. They're a 10, but they only like playing single player games. And that was it. And then they did the apology and they said, roast well deserved. We'll take this L because playing single player games actually makes them an 11. And that first tweet, I mean, it blew up. That first tweet blew up. 20,000 likes, just about 13,000 retweets, 10,000 comments. So it really got a lot of pushback, let's call it. And then the apology for it did better. 900. Right now it's at 900-ish retweets, 1,200 responses, and 6,300 likes. So, again, I don't think it was meant to be anything more than just trying to capitalize on they're a 10 but, that line that's going around Twitter, which I don't understand it all that much, really, but I don't really pay attention to any of that stuff. Maybe I'm too old. But, when it comes to the actual tweet and what it meant, obviously it upset people. And I guess what makes what makes this really bad, okay, in terms of like visually or coming off to people really bad. This is from the same company, right, that talked about how like single player games are dead and kind of moving away from them. And I've actually given EA quite a bit of credit over the last couple of years, because I think behind the scenes it looks like they've learned a lot of lessons. Now, Battlefield is still a disaster, right? That whole that's almost like a subsection of EA, right? That needs to be fixed. The sports games are still atrocious, money-hungry messes, okay? EA is still a problem overall, but I think in terms of the idea that single-player games are dead and we're going to make Dragon Age, the new Dragon Age game, is going to be only a multiplayer game, that was what was going to happen. And I'd imagine Mass Effect was maybe going to be the same thing, but Dragon Age is heavily rumored. The new Dragon Age game started as only a multiplayer game, and then they finally, at some point, maybe it was Anthem, maybe it was something else, they finally realized that that's not how you do it. And you have to let single-player, games go. You have, like, It Takes Two and A Way Out, right? Joseph Fares' team. That's an amazing studio, amazing games. I do think they've learned stuff. That's why, again, this is just an employee that it's such a bad take, because this is the company that doesn't have a good track record. But I do think recently it seems like they're learning in some areas. In some areas, they stopped Dragon Age from being multiplayer, let them do what they wanted to do, plus everything else I just said, Respawn, etc., etc. So, but what this did is it allowed people, obviously, to kind of call them out. So, obviously, you had consumers, just like normal people, saying, like, hey, I play, and for me, single-player games are my favorite kind of games, by a mile, several, single-player games are the best kinds of games. They're just the ones I prefer. I know people are into multiplayer games, and I know people around the other side of this. I don't necessarily think you need to kind of call them out in this way, though. And then the biggest thing that hurt is that former developers came out. So I believe somebody who worked at Visceral Games, right, which is shut down, Dead Space, they came out and they said, like, hey, this is coming from the same studio that terminated 100 jobs or close to 100 jobs because we were making a single player game, right? So like that kind of stuff. And again, it's no secret, or it shouldn't really be a surprise to people. Like, EA has had a really troubled past and still, again, continues in some regards to have it. I wonder what this does do to the people working there. I always wonder that in any of these companies when they make like a bold statement. Like, do the employees care? I don't know. It depends on how like face down in their work they are. I mean, like, I've been obviously on YouTube for a little while, but like I used to work at Home Depot. When I was at Home Depot, I wouldn't care what Home Depot did. Like if an executive did something on the news, I could care less. That has nothing really to do with the moment-to-moment things that I was doing at the store. Does that make sense? So I don't really know how people take it here. I really don't. But it's interesting. It's funny. It definitely was like a big hit EA took, but I mean, ultimately, again, I think it was just an intern or some low-level employee. I don't think they meant anything too necessarily bad. I think it was a bad take, but I don't think they were like setting out to. And again, specifically, I don't think they were setting out to make former EA employees that were shut down, that had their jobs lost. I don't think they were going after them and being like, ha, like our company shut you guys down. I don't think that was the point of this tweet. But obviously it came to that. So it is what it is. It was an interesting tweet from EA yesterday. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. And I hope to see you all on tomorrow's video.